nobody likes to read the story that says Billy was born, he lived a perfect life, and he lives happily ever after. Like that's the least interesting thing to read, right? And God is the greatest author of all. He's the author of actual history. And so this is why I think it's so good to read good fiction, is because you can almost, you know, I'm speaking in like the gray area here, but you can almost start to appreciate the pain and the imperfections of life because you just start to see how God writes life, right?
Mhm.
And there's something beautiful about Jesus coming as, a poor man that's born in a feed trough. And he's from Nazareth, right? He's from the hood. He did not come as the firstborn of the great king and all that, right? Like he did not come as an elite, right? And there's something beautiful about that. Just one other thing I want to say, just to encourage the audience, is that a lot, like, we live in the shambles of a wrecked culture, right?
Yep.
Brandon, you shared, Will, you shared some too. I just want to encourage everybody that doesn't have or didn't have a Christian father, and you feel the Spirit moving inside of you, and you want to make a better life for your family. As much of a blessing as a human father is, that we actually, all of us, have a father, and he's actually a more real father than our biological fathers. Biological
Mhm.
fathers have connection to us biologically, genetically, but they really are just an image of the true father. They are either a bad image, or they are a varying shades of good image. So, those who want to black pill and say, "Well, I don't have a father. I didn't have that. There's no hope for me." There's more to the story than that. And so, hopefully they can find the true father, and he'll call you from where you are, not from where you should be, and it'll work out.
How do y'all balance being warm and fun with your kids while maintaining gravitas? And so we're talking about, how to change gears as a man from I'm apologizing, I'm confessing, I'm repenting, and then you have to go right into, but I'm still the authority in the home. And this has done nothing to remove my authority. Perhaps it's bolstered it in some ways. But how do you make that gear shift, or how do you balance these things that would seem to be in competition with each other, or do you?
Well, I mean, we have this kind of saying that we'd say in when we're doing close quarters battle in the military. So you're coming in and clearing a house, that you have to have this ability to shift gears. And and that is, you come in and you have women and children in the room, and you have to be able to deal with them appropriately, whether it's, you have to be able to sort the threats and deal with kind of everything going on in the room. And I feel like, as dynamic of situations that I was in the military, that it doesn't really compare to having to be that, shifting those gears between the different children that you have, and knowing each one of their strengths and weaknesses, and the way that you communicate love efficiently to them, and the way that you have to be kind of a different version of yourself to every child in a different way. You have to meet them where they are. You have to communicate love in the ways that they receive it. And so it's a complex thing to do, especially when you're trying to pay the bills, and especially when you're trying to get off to the office, or you're trying to, deal with all the different things. But that is a glorious thing to be a man. You can whine about it, and you can say, "Oh, this is hard, and I got all these things going on," and but you have to be able to, I sat down with Dr. Merkel about it, and he would talk about just taking that time before you get back to the house to completely, like, flush what went on during the day, pray, and make sure you're ready to get jumped on by your 11-year-old, and have your 7-year-old around your foot, and all these things, that them just coming at you with the way that they love, when you've had a long day and you're tired. Your wife is ready to tag out and say, "Hey, all the kids are yours now." That's why we stay in shape. That's why we have good nutrition, so that we can work 15, 16 hours a day, because you got several more hours of work to do when you get home.
I think for me, it's just always been, as cliche as it sounds, it's just really being present and knowing, being aware of what every member of your family needs. And so I don't know that it's I don't know that it shouldn't be a conscious thing. It probably should be, but it doesn't feel like it really ever was, any more than just that. Is just knowing that I need to be present. I mean, I agree with everything that Nate said. Like you don't get to just clock out and sit down in the recliner, and not be present and not be a father and a husband. And so, yeah, whether it's just being present and being aware of what the needs are in your house. And so if that's helping with homework, or if that's doling out discipline, or if it's just cuddling with one or two of the kids, um and then even still you're still not done. Then once the kids are off to bed, then your wife, she gets you, she wants part of you as well. And so just to have adult human interaction, probably, if nothing else, to feel valued by you. And so, yeah, and so I think, really, not to oversimplify it, but it's just really a matter of just being present and being aware of what's going on in your house, not checking out, and just knowing what your wife and your kids need from you as a husband, as a father, as the leader of the household, and then stepping up to the plate and delivering.
I think we have to walk into this knowing that for those of us who are providing for our family well, we have to be ready to work second shift after we provide. And I think that's really what Nate and Brandon are saying. And it's different at different ages for your kids. It's different for different sex of your kids. I have 2 daughters, and so the way I love them well is different than I would love a son, probably. But I don't have a son. But I know that men tend to be wired to either overwork or be lazy. For those of us who, most of my guess is that most that are listening to this podcast, so maybe we tend to work, and what we tend to do is fill our lives with urgency, and that urgent is rarely important, and so it's imperative that we purge our lives of the things that are unimportant and unurgent, and that I've spent as much time as I can trying to delegate out the things that are urgent but not important, to work as efficiently as I can on the things that are urgent and important, so that I have as much time as possible to focus on the things that are never urgent but are the most important. And that's the stuff like my spiritual disciplines and my relationship with my family and my health and my exercise, and like those are the things that are the most important are never urgent. And what we'll do is we'll let the urgency crowd out the important. And so it's our job as men to learn how to deal with the urgent, and this is why we have to purge our lives of binge watching Netflix and video games and pornography, and obviously things like pornography, very immoral. Not all of those things are, some of those things are amoral things, right? Like my wife and I typically are watching a TV show. We watch one episode of a TV show 3 nights a week. Like and we enjoy that time together. But a lot of times those things become the thing that replaces the important. And when we really recognize it, like if I spend all my time doing the urgent things, answering the emails, answering the phone calls, constantly dealing with the staff and the business, and I don't know how to delegate, and I'm micromanaging, and I don't ever get to devote time to the important things, which is building the relationship with my kids and my wife and my savior and my community, my church community. And so the goal of my life from a schedule standpoint is to reduce the urgency down as much as possible, to focus on the stuff that is the most important and is almost never urgent. And I think that's where we make a mistake, right?